Good evening. We're going to call the meeting to order. Please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. Now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a draft agenda in front of us. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move.
Kelly, and support?
Support.
Tricia, all in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
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 Well,
Thank you.
you passed discussion. I wanted to make a motion to amend the agenda and add a line under new business
Okay, we'll allow. Go ahead. What's your motion?
for secondary student social transition protocol.
Okay,
Under new business.
there's a motion to add an item. Is there a second?
I second.
Barb seconds, and discussion?
So the context is, as you may all know, we have a protocol in place. It's not a policy. It's not a judicial order or anything. We can control the policy, and it's if a secondary student wishes to transition their gender and parent rights, we do not currently tell the parents if the student hasn't. If we continue to move through protocol and recognize that students' wishes while the parents don't know. So I've worked hard for 18 months to try and get this through the administration without board involvement, but if it's to change, it's going to need board involvement to do that. So that's really what this is. We can talk more if it gets added.
Other discussion?
Well, this is the first I'm really hearing about this, so it will get to the vote, but I'd rather hear you talk a little bit more and hear what you're thinking, and we can go from there, but
Well, I thought
we can move.
to be fair to the chair, we would have a discussion if it gets added to the agenda in a deeper way. I'd asked to have it added, and it has not been, so I'm,
I just want to do
asking
my
here.
homework a little bit more before
Yeah.
it hits anything, but.
Yeah, I'll just share, if you don't mind, I'll go first and then go to you. Nick did send an email last week requesting this item be added. After conferring with Dr. Matthews, my response was, it was just frankly difficult for me to understand why this is a topic that should be discussed in tonight's meeting, given the nature of the topic relative to pending litigation. I think for that reason alone, I oppose the motion to add this to tonight's agenda. It would not be prudent for us to have an in-depth discussion on this topic, given that fact. Beyond that, I would add that it does feel like a little bit of a surprise, which we try to avoid. And I think if there is going to be any kind of a report, let alone a board action, which there isn't anything requiring board action now, but if we were anticipating either a need for a report or some kind of board action, we would work that through our regular approach and protocol, which would likely be a committee discussion first, in this case probably policy committee. But regardless, I mean, under those circumstances, I see no reason why we would spend time on this tonight. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tricia's next.
I would just say that I think this issue is very important, but I would feel more comfortable just at least having our Title IX coordinator present and have this go through the policy committee just like we normally would, instead of having like an open board discussion, which
Without preparation.
without
Let me just be
preparation.
clear, this is not Title IX. This is protocol for every secondary student that we've had in place. And it should not be a surprise. I made many different appointments with Dr. Matthews, and we talked about it, and I wish it didn't have to come to the board. But also during RAM's process, I was adamant about trying to get parental rights into our RAM strategy. So this is just evidence of a detail item of if we don't place parent rights at a certain level. This is the kind of thing that just happens, and I wish the board didn't have to get involved because we don't have to. There's nothing stopping the administration from, I even proposed a third-party solution. Like, I didn't come and say, change it. I said,
I just want to caution us not to get too deep into the discussion of the item. As you know,
That's what I said.
the discussion is, should we discuss it tonight or at a later date? I think that's the motion, is to add to tonight's agenda or to not. Yeah, Barb.
I'm not on the policy committee. There are only 3 people on the policy committee, 3 out of 7. So it's the minority leading the majority. I never get a say in it. I would like to discuss this. I think it's really important. I mean, there's a law in Michigan that requires us to post parental rights, and it's right up there. We had our policy that we're speaking to, that we're not speaking about, says that parents shouldn't be brought into the equation.
Anyone else?
I just go back to, I'm open to, I agree with Tricia. I think it's an important thing to discuss, but this is the first time I'm hearing about it, and I would rather come to a conversation more prepared. Nick, this is the first time I'm getting.
well, I know I've had conversations with almost everybody on the board about it, but let's see if it gets on the agenda and we can talk more.
Okay, I think we're ready to vote. All in favor of adding the item to tonight's agenda, raise your hand and say yes.
Yes?
All opposed, raise your hand and say no.
No.
No, okay, item's not added. Moving on to recognition, we're very happy to have our middle school students of the month queued up for tonight.
Our first 6th grader that was chosen for the 24-25 school year was William, who is the son of Robert and Jill, and was selected by Mrs. Corey and Mrs. DeWitt for always being focused during class, building kind friendships, and showing responsibility at high levels.
I want to be a soccer coach when I grow up. My favorite thing about school is hanging out with my friends, and it's just more fun than being at my house. I would probably rather win the lottery because I could donate to charity and give my parents, or let my parents retire earlier. It means a lot because I was scared going into 6th grade, so I'm happy to know that I'm doing well in 6th grade.
Our other student who was chosen at the 6th grade level was Josie, who is the daughter of Matt and Catherine. And she was also chosen because of her ability to stay focused, build relationships, the level of responsibility, and how high she performs on a daily basis.
I want to be a veterinarian when I grow up. I love making new friends and learning new things. I would rather get the perfect job because then I'd be perfectly happy with my pay and I would never get bored. It feels pretty good because
Caden is the son of Brooke and Mark, and he was selected because of his positive attitude, respectful, hard-working approach to every single day, and he completes projects and assignments with a cast or sling without a single complaint or excuse. And Caden was selected by Mr. Garapi.
I would like to be I would like to be a civil engineer or an architect. I really do like mathematics and hanging out with my friends. Probably just like one of my closer friends. I'm not gonna say names, but it feels great. It's nice to know that helping peers has a good outcome.
Natalie is the daughter of Andrew and Amanda, and it was selected by Mr. Vandenberg for her kindness, her respect, her hardworking attitude, and her focused, positive approach to every single day in academic success.
what I want to be when I grow up is an animator.
Yeah.
I like drama club, my friends and my family. It feels like I've shown good qualities as a person.
Our 8th grade student of the month was Dayton, who is the grandson of Lorraine and Mickey. He was selected by Mrs. Blasky because of his kindness, how respectful he is on a daily basis, and how he assists in leading the class each and every single day.
I want to be someone who makes my own things and makes my own type of things. The thing about school is my teachers and basically just English because it's quiet. I would move to some part in Brazil and just live there. It feels great and never really experienced anything like this.
Our other 8th grade student that was selected is Sabrina, who is the daughter of Ashley and Herm, and she was selected by Mr. Garapi once again for her high standard of work, her responsible, respectful attitude, her attentiveness, and her ability to stay engaged and keep others engaged in class as well.
When I grow up, I want to be a physical therapist. My favorite thing about school is hanging out with all my friends and meeting new people. I would split it between charity, my family, and myself. It feels great being nominated as Student of the Month because it shows me that my teachers think I'm working hard.
This is Leah. Leah's parents are John and Michelle. Leah has 2 siblings, Ellie and Jack. She also has 2 dogs, Ozzy and Mia. Leah went to All Saints Academy for elementary school, and she likes musical theater at Stage Grand Rapids.
When I grow up, I want to become a singer. My favorite thing about school is probably art. I would rather work at the perfect job because if it was the perfect job, I'd be more motivated to go. Being nominated as for Student of the Month to me means that I'm being noticed for some work that I did and it stood out to someone.
This is Bentley. Bentley's parents are Nicole and Jeremy. Bentley has 3 siblings and no pets. Bentley went to Valley View Elementary. Bentley likes sports, mostly football, and out of school he enjoys PE and hanging out with friends.
I want to be an NFL player, to go to math. Work the perfect job so you can make money instead of wasting it all on the lottery. It feels like someone seen you doing work and picked you.
This is Linny. Linny's parents are Kimberly and Matthew. Linny has 2 siblings, Noah and Helena. Linny has 1 pet, a golden retriever named Sugar. She went to Cannonsburg Elementary and practices dance at Rhythm Dance Center after school.
A vet or a shelter worker. Orchestra and social studies. My mom and my dog. Very nice to be recognized by my teachers.
This is Jax. Jax's parents are Molly and Andy. Jax has 2 sisters, Morgan and Kendall. Jax has no pets and went to Belmont Elementary. He likes to play football and also soccer at Score Soccer.
I'm undecided on a career, but I want to be successful and have a family. Playing school sports and seeing friends. My friend Adam, because he would entertain me while we wait to be rescued. It makes me happy to know that teachers have recognized my hard work.
This is Nora. Nora's parents are Frank and Sarah. Nora has 4 pets. She went to Lakes Elementary and she loves to do horseback riding after school.
A flight attendant. Seeing friends. Anything. Travel. Coming to school every day.
This is Dennis. Dennis' parents are Dennis and Esther. Dennis has 2 siblings, Brady and Charlene. Dennis has no pets. He went to Valley View Elementary and plays football, working out. He loves to work out and hanging out with friends.
I want to be an NFL player. Being with my friends in after-school sports. Give half to my parents, save 25%, and then spend the rest. It feels good to be noticed by my teachers and peers.
I think we may have some of our Students of the Month in the room with us this evening. If you don't mind, please stand. There you go. Congratulations on your recognition. We appreciate all your hard work. Thanks for coming tonight. You're welcome to stay. However, if you prefer to leave, we'll give you a moment to do that. All right, up next is our consent agenda items. We have a lengthier list of consent agenda items tonight. So we have minutes from September 2 through 7 are donations. And then presentation of bills in the amount of just over $10 million. Winter coaches, banking approvals, the amended City of Rockford lease agreement, certified staff resignation and fall extra duty assignments. Can I have a motion to approve our consent agenda items?
I'll move.
Jake, and support?
Support.
Nick? All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. That's everybody, thank you. New business number 1, Rockford Freshman Center bid approval. Dr. Matthews?
Thank you, and I will turn to Ms. Clements and her special guest to have this conversation with the board.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. Included in the 2019 bond scope is the renovation of the Rockford Freshman Center. I have with me this evening Jared Goss from Owen Ames Kimball and Sean Hayward, who is the district's Director of Operations. I'm going to invite them to come up, and while they're doing so, I'd like to just share with you that proof of concept was presented to the Board of Education at the May 13th, 2024 meeting. And on September 25th, OAK received the bids for the Freshman Center. And those bids, the summary was presented to the Finance Committee on October 7th. Included in the board packet is the bid summary. And I'll turn it over to Jared and Sean to talk through those results.
Awesome, thank you very much. Yeah, Freshman Center project, hopefully ready to be kicked off here really soon. New IT addition in the back, renovations throughout the interior of the space, mechanical upgrades throughout. So really a fun project, looking forward to it. As Allison said, we accepted bids on September 25th. We had 102 bids over 28 bid categories, so really good coverage over all the bid categories. We had 3 to 6 bidders on each category, so just a testament to how people like to work in the district and with Rockford here. So overview of the bids, we had the low bidders were interviewed September 26th and 27th. We came up with this list and rated of bidders that were low, and we interviewed them and vetted them and got recommendations. I could say every single one of the bidders on this list has worked in Rockford Public Schools on other projects with us throughout the bond project here. The big ticket items there are mechanical, electrical controls with all the upgrades going on. We landed on A and B Mechanical. They were at Edgerton Trails. They've also done their projects in the district as well. Klein Electric for electrical. They did Carlson Munger. Stadium renovations, roadway transportation, controls contractor, control network at North Rockford Middle School. So across the board, reputable in the district here. So all their contractors, like I said, worked here before, and all reputable, have a good reputation. There were 7 alternates with this project. We are hoping to get 5 of them pushed through with this, accepted with this. It includes storm sewer renovations on the exterior of the building. That helps the courtyard drainage in the courtyard there off the media center. Gym mechanical upgrades, new duct and equipment, second floor chiller upgrades, which eliminates that existing chiller, ties it into the new chiller going in there. And then replace the entire fire alarm system in the building and medium voltage power feed to the building, which is tied in with the upgraded power and the new chiller going into the building. So those are the alternates we're looking to accept. Ultimately, overall, the project came in under budget from our DD design estimate that we gave at the design development phase of the project. And just looking forward, if everything's accepted, we're looking to break ground yet this fall, and it'll be a 2-year project.
So thank you, Jared. The recommendation this evening is to approve the bid package in the amount of $12,175,472 to be paid out of the 2019 bond proceeds.
Thank you, Ms. Clements. And so that would be the recommendation to the board, and so we would ask that you would accept that and move that forward so we can start with this project.
Thank you. Motion to approve the recommendation. Kelly, and support?
Support.
Nick, any other questions or discussion?
I just wanted to say, I think the biggest change from when we went through this process in 18 and 19 was the addition of 8 or 9 classes. It's sort of not neat. It's excellent to see that we've adjusted to where we think we might be, and just the thoughtfulness with giving IT a single space. I think a lot of people might not realize. You know, the expanse of devices that one guy sits in a room with, and I think this will be much more efficient. But I'm most excited about the media center piece of it. And I'm sure the teachers who border the media center are going to be thrilled that it will be glassed in. So that's just I just wanted to mention, we were going to add classrooms and we're not, which is completely fine because it shows that we've adjusted.
Thanks. Anyone else? Okay. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
That's everyone. Thank you. Next is certified staff new hires. Dr. Matthews?
Thank you. So Dr. Wilson Crawford is not here this evening, but we do have 3 recommendations for the board to approve, and I'll get to that page here in the agenda and kind of alert the board to what those recommendations are. We have a social worker, we have a resource room teacher, and we also have a Spanish immersion teacher for Roper. And they have all gone through the process, and those are the recommendations that Dr. Wilson Crawford would bring this evening if she were here.
I did. Motion to approve the recommendation?
I move.
Kelly, and support?
Support.
Tricia got it. Yep. Any questions or discussion? Okay. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's everybody. Thank you. Reports. Number 1, Brooklyn, you're up.
Hi everyone, it's good to see you guys again. My name's Brooklyn, if you weren't here the last time, and I'm really excited to be here another time. Okay, so this is just a little slideshow of what's going on at the high school. I'm going to just go over all of everything, and not just sports, but clubs too. So here is the whole big list of clubs at our school. There is Art Outreach, Esports, all the way to Model UN and Animation Club. Rockford is very well represented by all of these clubs, giving everybody a place to feel like a sense of belonging at our school. And there's 2 to 3 club fairs a year to help students come and find new clubs and get into a new place at the building, which helps also advertise clubs and different changes to them as well. Club Spotlight, Model UN Nations Club. So during their meetings, they conduct stimulations where they represent a country in the UN and try to solve a real-life problem from the perspective of these countries. They go to conferences twice a year, and I couldn't get a picture. They got a picture for me today, so I'll have it next time. But it's amazing the different representation we have at our high school. This is their Instagram, if you guys want to follow them. But it's just amazing to see that there's people doing this at our school, and we might not even know that there's this club. We also have, there's a Women's Awareness and Empowerment Club. The picture didn't show up, but the last event that they participated in was the Suicide Prevention Walk down in Grand Rapids, and I got to partake in that, and that was an amazing, humbling experience to be able to participate in and just be able to walk with suicide survivors. And Women's Awareness and Empowerment just focuses on women's education and empowering different people in the building and just helping educate people on the different rights that women have. This is Student Council. This is my favorite club, just because I'm in it, but this was a little biased. But this is our whole entire class. I was so happy because everyone participated on this day, and we love school spirit and participation. And that's just our little Student Council family. We plan things from homecoming, pep assemblies, to winter wishes, where we grant students different wishes at the high school, from cars to braces to glasses to even just like a little gift card to make their day. It's just amazing the recognition that we give. Oh, there's the picture. Okay, esports. This one people really wanted me to focus on because they are not as recognized anymore. They were added to the athletics, I believe, this year, and they were highly involved a couple years ago, but now in the next couple years they don't see it like going so far. There's not a lot of members, and they've had to cut different games. So I'm just trying to help advocate for them and try to get them new members in their club. It's a really amazing club, especially for kids that love video games, and there's only guys up there, or there's a girl up there too. So it's just amazing to show that they have a place at Rockford too, and it's just a place where they can find different friends and help just be in their space. What's going on in the drama department? This Sleepy Hollow show is coming up October 30th to November 3rd. It would be amazing if you guys came out to see it. I know the students would love it. The drama department is just fantastic. We have such good actors and actresses, and they spend so much time preparing for these shows that it's just amazing to come and show your support. Choir students just had their 25th annual freshman retreat at Camp Roger where they participated in team bonding. They do this every year and it's so amazing. My best friend's in choir. So it's just cool to hear all of the things that they do to just get to know one another and make sure they're all like in sync, get to learn about each other. And it's nice that they welcome in freshmen too and everybody's just one big family. The band students are calling this October Bandtober with upcoming events taking place. Oh, that one was last week. October 18th at the home football game this Friday. Come out and see them. October 19th and October 26th. Our band is a really big thing at Rockford, and coming out and supporting them on a Saturday right after our Friday football would be amazing and just really means a lot to them because they don't get as much support as our football teams and other teams do, and just coming out and supporting all the band kids would be amazing. Rockford sporting events this upcoming week. Friday night was a very big win and that was amazing. Here's some cool pictures. We had a good turnout and it was amazing the people who participated in the theme. I always love seeing all the spirit and stuff and just people showing their love for Rockford. Giving thanks to coaches and security guards. Coaches are a really big thing at Rockford. We have so many of them and we just need to give thanks to them and just shine a spotlight on them because they're not always thanked and they're not always recognized. And security guards are amazing too. Mr. Beckman's back there, he's so amazing. And he leads all the security guards and there's Jim and Matt, I just met him. And it's just, we have to tell the people thank you because they do so much behind closed doors and we don't always see what they're doing. And just coming up and saying thank you just probably makes their day, honestly, and just giving thanks to those people. Glimpse into dance, color guard, cheer, and band. These people make our Friday nights possible along with the football team, but they do an excellent job. Our color guard, our band, our cheer, and dance team all perform on Friday nights, and they have so much people coming out and supporting them, and they're all great teams. Sports Spotlight. This I thought was really cool. At the boys soccer tournaments, they do a man of the match, and I'm all about recognition, so it's just amazing that they take one person and recognize them for their amazing individual accomplishments throughout the team and throughout the game. And the next game is actually today, so if you have time to go support, it might be going on right now. I have no clue. Girls golf is another amazing sport too that doesn't always get light shined on them. Their regionals were last week and the states are coming up this weekend. The girls have had a really successful season with many first and second place trophies and medals. The Color Guard Spotlight. So Color Guard placed third in the Bands of America Regionals, and Rockford is hosting an individual next weekend. The Color Guard, we may not have noticed that they performed in the Macy's Parade, the Rose Bowl, and they're going to Indianapolis for Nationals this year. And it's just amazing that we don't always see this. I know I wouldn't know about it unless some of my friends would have came up and told me, but these people are out there representing Rockford and they're doing an amazing job. As well as this happened last weekend, the RHS Interact District Conference. I had the opportunity to host this at Rockford, and Dr. Matthews came and supported us as well. Thank you for coming. Our Interact Rockford Club hosted 7 schools, actually it was more than 7, it was 9, from the District 6290 and had over 50 people attend. The day consisted of different activities which helped with team bonding, learning about different schools, what they do with their clubs, and Interact is just a big volunteer organization and it works with the Rockford Rotary, and I'm so thankful to be a part of that. And just hearing other people's ideas and getting to know different people, not just sitting and listening to presentations, was just amazing, and hearing students' perspectives and not just people talking at you was really cool. Important events coming up. The orchestra concert's going on tonight at 7 o'clock. The football game is this Friday, the last home game before playoffs. So if you guys come, make sure you wear your pink out. Not just students, people too. October 23rd is our early release, October 25th football game against EK Halloween out. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions? Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. Thank you very much. Next is collaborative reports. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you. And tonight we have Mindy McGinn from Parkside Elementary to give our elementary report.
for having me tonight. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. I'm here to represent our elementary buildings and share with you some of the activities that have been happening in these last several weeks of school. You know that we go through every year a fall, winter, spring assessment cycle, and we've completed that cycle and have completed our Tier 1 action planning meetings. This continues to be a very strong process in our schools. It helps our teachers process their data and have thinking partners with an instructional coach. And from there, those teams build plans for their various groups. We were learning today about planning to the edges, meaning we're including instruction and intervention for all of our students, regardless of where they're at, where they're landing, if they're struggling, if they're in that middle group, if they're at that high group. I like to think about it as all students deserve a year's worth of growth in 1 year's time. And some of our students need more than a year's growth in that 1 year's time. So how are we going to go about meeting those needs? So that's what that work is about. So we're continuing to build capacity around that for sharing students with teacher to teacher and meeting those needs with our math and our ELA curriculum resources while we're getting to know our new resource and using our interventions that we've been provided with from the district. We have a very deep set of interventions that are research-based and proven to be effective to help students make that growth that they need. So we're working on those pieces steadily to make sure our Tier 1 instruction is very strong. We're also working towards enriching curriculum, and that's happening in many ways. You always hear in the fall about trips to the apple orchard and trips to the zoo and fun outdoor education lessons, and those things are all continuing, but some things are unique to this time of year, like the orchard. But some of our students visited one of the theaters to watch the new Wild Robot movie. They had read the book as 4th graders, so they went to 5th grade and they were able to watch that in comparison, and the unofficial vote is that the book is better. It's good to know. So we're doing a lot of those pieces at Parkside. Just to plug my building a little bit, we had some of our city firemen come in and present some fire prevention information to our 1st grade students, and the School News Network came to videotape that. So it's really cute. You'll see a teacher on there and some of our students and some of our local men trying to help students understand what it's all about. So take a peek at that if you haven't done so already. We also have green initiatives happening. Another little known fact about Parkside, we're nearing our 50th year of recycling by the same Mr. Bob, who was a teacher at Parkside way back and is continuing to push these initiatives. So those initiatives are running in a lot of the buildings as well. We have a pretty active community involvement partnership with our PTO, and you see those folks at ISAC and organizations amongst them, but they're busy planning school events to support our field trips, to support our assemblies, to support our education, but also to support families, which I really appreciate. I love the events where families can just come to school and be and interact with kids in their space. We've had donuts with grown-ups and all of those types of morning activities that are happening. We have Fall Fest coming up, and those are just times where families can come and be. And I just appreciate our PTOs bringing those to us. And there's some celebrations, big ones and small ones, but I want to focus on a big one here. On behalf of my elementary principal team, I'd like to congratulate Meadow Ridge Elementary School for their National Blue Ribbon Award. It's a pretty prestigious piece back in the day. It used to be a state award, and you would apply to it via the state. It is now a national award, and you are invited to apply. And not all who apply are granted that prestigious award. So after you go through the application process, there's still a chance that you don't make the cut. And so the fact that Meadow Ridge has made that cut and we can celebrate with them, we just wanted to give them a shout out for that. Okay, what questions do you have for me tonight? Yeah.
I saw on Dr. Matthews' Instagram that part of STEAM is an outdoor education teacher with elementaries is going outside with kids to talk about leaves and earthy things. How's that going?
It's great. I saw a lesson. Tara Deservowitz is the instructor. She's a former Parkside instructor. And she was teaching the students to examine their environment as if they were visitors to a foreign planet. Like what signs of life exist? What signs of of growth and maturity are there, what might need to be brought in if we were to live in this space. It was really pretty engaging. So she's starting a little differently than she thought she would, but she's getting to every school and pulling those kids to the outside to experience nature in the world.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. McGinn.
Thank you.
And Ms. McGinn may be leading because I believe she has someone in orchestra.
Yes.
And so going to the orchestra concert. Our secondary report will be given by Mr. Burkholder.
Dr. Matthews, Central Office, Board of Education. I've been going through my lists and crossing those up because I think that might be the most in-depth student report I've ever seen. So one thing you missed, there's only one, tennis. So tennis won regionals and is competing in state at the end of the year, so good job.
It's the new courts.
Yeah. And probably the music that's being played out there as well. The school year's off to a great start. If you're trying to measure success by involvement, when you look at homecoming at the 10-12, the numbers were, I don't have the numbers.
They were greater than they've ever been. We had the most attendance, and it was just a fantastic night.
It was as my daughter described it, she's a sophomore, it was a packed, hot, sweaty mess, but it was fun. And then at the freshman center, because they run those events parallel to one another, and they keep freshmen in the 10-12 separate, 80% of students from the freshman center attended, which anything over 50-60% is incredible, so that just speaks to the desire for students to get involved. Parent-teacher conferences, we were in a similar format this year with one night virtual, one night face-to-face, and there was expression of gratitude. Now, I don't have the exact numbers, but just the number of parents who expressed, like, this worked for me as far as being virtual or face-to-face. Because we have both options, and come on in if you can, or if you want to stop on Google Meet, we can do that too. And that went well over at the Freshman Center, high school, and both middle schools. Rockford Freshman Center is capitalizing on their math interventionist, which is new to the building this year. And the benefit is the connection of the dots between, so Jen Halligan is the interventionist. She was in my building last year. So when you talk about vertical alignment and where are the kids coming from, what do they have and what are they getting, she's been a great connector piece for our Rockford Freshman Center, and we'll also have influence at the high school as well. And when we can seal her back to the middle school every once in a while, we do so, because she's an incredible educator. This Friday, along with the football game, I don't know if you're familiar with the Meyer family, Annie's Army, but this Friday is a benefit to snuff out pediatric cancer. And Mark Meyer, along with community organizations, has done a great job of pairing with various athletic teams, and football being one of them. And that will take place Friday, so you're going to see lots of white t-shirts with pink on them. And then head tennis, and then moving to the middle school. Both middle schools held our first PAC meetings, Parent Advisory Council. Numbers have varied, and we've done these at night in the past, at 5:30, 6 o'clock. 5, 6, 7 parents is not uncommon. Both middle schools had 15 parents, so that's going up, and my challenge for those parents and Lisa's challenge for the parents was to bring another parent to the meeting. We did those face-to-face, and what we focused on this month was explaining for our early release dates, showing what's going on behind the scenes. So for us in our educational jargon, it's answering questions 1, 2, 3, what do you want students, and 4, what do you want students to know, what do you want to be able to do, what do you do if they don't know it, so intervention, and just showing the dynamics of what the data, how the teachers respond to the data, and how they form those intervention and extension groups. So it was our first time kind of showing the behind the scenes work with parents, and they appreciated that. I tried something new, and I'm going to try a book report, or it's not a book report, a book study. Book reports are over for me. Book study with our parents. And Lisa Weidenfeller is excited about this too. I said, let me launch this first and see how it goes. And as a parent advisory council, we're going to focus on the book called The Coddling of the American Mind. So there's 2 books that this author has written, and the most recent one is The Anxious Generation. Going back to 2018, the original book, Coddling of the American Mind, he talks about the negative ramifications of social media, unstructured play, and at times over-parenting. The two in safetyism. So how do we get our students uncomfortable? How do we grow them as individuals? And that fed very nicely into this week with our students in goal setting, and really stressing with our middle school students. Goal setting is about the process, and evaluating our outcome at the end. You have to have something you're working towards, but if you don't like the outcome, let's go back and evaluate the process and change something in the process. So really trying to instill that mental approach to goal setting with our students, and then coupling that with a book study with our parents. And all parents were excited about it, and if they bring 15 more parents, when we have 30 parents, I think that starts a small movement. And that's just at East Rockford, and North will be doing the same thing. Because the emphasis of the book, quite frankly, is to keep technology out of kids. Internet's fine, social media, not so fine, but keep that out of their hands until freshman year. So that is something that we're going to be focused on at the PAC meeting. Our winter sports season, our winter one, at the middle school we have 2 winter sports seasons. Our winter one sports season starts in 2 weeks. So our fall sports are finishing up and winter sports are beginning. Any questions you might have about what's going on in secondary buildings? All right. Thank you.
And Mr. Burkholder, thank you.
All right, reports item 3 is our board committee reports. I know we've had a few.
I think we've had HR, curriculum, and finance.
Yes, any highlights, HR?
Yeah, I'll start with HR. And I'm going to try and organize my meeting report outs by correlation with Ram's pillar moving forward. And so the first one, our staffing update, fell under pillar 5, which is organizational effectiveness. We discussed the need to be creative in how we staff buildings, which is fantastic. I believe that Corey and co are doing an excellent job. We got a bargaining update, but I'm actually going to let Corey share that with all of us in November, and so I'm going to push that off. But we also got a great update on Grow Your Own, and that fits under Pillar 4, collaborative culture and investment in staff. And it was great to hear about the success of Grow Your Own. We're currently at 84 participants, and we anticipate about 100 by the end of the year. And so it was just really kind of fantastic to hear about the success of Grow Your Own. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thanks, Kelly.
Finance.
You wanna do
Yeah,
that?
I
Yep.
like that pillar. I didn't do that, but we'll do that going forward. But yeah, so we heard about the freshman center bids earlier, and then there was a little bit on the 2019 Series 3 bonds with some, I think, exciting stuff coming up in future bonds, which we'll hear about at a later date. And then the City of Rockford lease agreement is, so basically we lease the parking lot down near Parkside, and like near the old football stadium, soccer stadium. And so they're adding on to that lease agreement the baseball field next to it, which is owned by the city. A lot of people think it's us, but it's not. So we're doing a long-term lease agreement there, so we can continue to utilize that for lots of different sports and activities as well. So that's kind of a cool thing coming up. Those are kind of the three hits.
Things. Perfect. Thank you. Curriculum?
Yeah, so we met with Mike Ram recently with the curriculum committee, and this was our first meeting of the school year, and so we talked a little bit about some of the goals or changes that the committee might want to see in the format of our meetings. And Kelly had a great idea to try and tie our future topics to pillars and the goals within the Rams 12 plan. So it sounds like we'll be able to do that going forward. And Mike Graham gave us a lot of updates on student achievements relative to the assessment results from the fall 2024 NWEA. And I think it was worth noting that since there have been increases, the data shows that there's increases in math and ELA scores, and proficiency, I should say. I think that Mr. Ram said that we could definitely attribute that those increases to a lot of the collaboration efforts that our teachers are having to that are able to be with their professional learning communities, and some of these multi-tiered systems of support that a lot of the everyone in the room tonight seems to be talking about. And so we also got some more updates on the outdoor education and outdoor learning program that's starting to be rolled out at the elementary over at Edgerton. There's some physical improvements that are being made to the school, and those will be utilized by students in the coming months. And we also got an update on the expanded STEAM program and some of the successes of that curriculum. We got a lot of excited kids who my fourth grader personally talks about it a lot. We also talked about, we kind of got like an in-depth explanation of these multi-tiered systems of support. And I think Mike might talk a little bit about this tonight. So he'll give you some more details so that everybody knows. And there was a really good graphic that he used that really helped show, you know, that 20% or the 80%, the 20%, or 15, and then the 5%, and how we're able to, how our teachers are able to reach the 15 or the 15 and the 5%. And so we also got an update on a new elementary report card that I am personally kind of excited about. And it sounds like it'll be a little bit easier to view and make sense of student growth throughout the year, because there's goals to be met by the end of the year, and it's intended to show student progress. And I think there will be a parent document to help parents navigate the new format. And so that sounds good, but it sounds like the new format will tie the actual grades or the scores to the content standards for that grade level, which I think is awesome.
Good.
That's about it.
Thank you. All right, any questions on any of those topics? I know we covered some of that in our agenda tonight, but I just encourage, I appreciate the committee activity and sharing of your kind of highlights. We are all on committees, different committees. We're not all on every committee, obviously. And so just encourage you to continue to, for those committees that you're not on, take a look at the agendas and the minutes. And if anything piques your interest, reach out to your board colleague, the chair of that particular committee, or directly to Dr. Matthews, and he'll kind of point you to the right direction if you want more information about something that you're seeing, getting a deeper review or discussion at a committee level. But I appreciate all the work on that. Okay, up next is item 4, Student Achievement Report. Dr. Matthews?
I'll turn to Mr. Ram.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. That is the one. It gives me a pleasure tonight. Tricia, grabbed a few talking points from our time together the other day, so I appreciate that. And I'd like to maybe add on to a few others. Just a couple things to really consider. Each fall, we have been coming to the Board of Education and just talking a little bit about progress. Obviously, the school district is influencing students and staff in many different ways. And one of the ways in which we look at how our system, or the health of our system, frankly, is the results of our student learning. So there's many things that go into impacting student learning. We really just, if it was as simple as saying, well, this is a number that we want to increase, we're going to chase that number, or whatever the case is, that does not think about the dynamics of a classroom, of individual students, of all of the factors that go along with education as a whole. So really what I think we're looking at and looking at data, and which we continually do, and you'll see that's the Rams connection that I want to point to today, is thinking about what does it tell us? What is the story behind the data? And then how are we using that to make strategic decisions as a system? And if our system can continually use data to not only establish targets, but then think about where we're going and benchmark along the way, then we can be agile and we can adjust, and our system can understand direction. And in the end, kids learn more. And that is our overall goal. Our overall goal is that the moves that we make increase learning for every single kid, and at a high level. And we continue to align our system to do that. Today, I want to show you a little bit of some of the data. It's going to really talk about 2 points, or 2 parts. We have what's called benchmark assessments, and you might have heard of that as NWA data. So the NWA data is a system that we use in our district. We tested the fall the winter and in the spring. And it's in the same class, the same group of students, and that looks at our growth over time. It's a nationally normed, I'll show you that. And then the second one is state assessment data. So you've heard of those, it's reported in the newspaper sometime, or it looks like what's called MSTEP, PSAT, and SAT. So I'll show you a few of those pieces as we go along. In the end, our system is healthy, and our system is growing in a positive way. You'll see that in the data today as well too. You'll see incremental increases along the way. In fact, since 2019, if you look at our math and ELA data, we have double-digit increases, even though we've been, as a whole, like putting all of our students together, over double-digit percentage increases of proficiency, even though we had to navigate a pandemic. So there's great things happening in our classrooms every day. Our teachers, our principals, all of the staff are contributing to that, and we'll look at some of that as we move forward here. Recently, as you think about student achievement, again, one piece and a product of the health of a system, I wanted to call your attention that MLive recently did an article about the top achieving districts in the state of Michigan. So there's over 500 districts in the state of Michigan, of lots of variety among those districts. And when you combine all of the state assessment data from English, language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies, Rockford was named in the top 10 for overall student achievement in the state of Michigan. And I think that's a really significant piece. I talk about that incremental climb that the district is on, and this is, you know, a real accolade to, again, what's happening in the buildings with our kids, with our students, and our teachers, our staff, the alignment that's happening. And so I'm very proud of that, and the combination of the partnership with our teachers and our parents and our students. And this is just it's a nice accolade, right? And I think it's important that we make it known that, you know, in some ways, Rockford student achievement could be thought of as the top 3% of school districts in the state of Michigan. I want people to be proud about where they send their kids to school and feel that confidence in the student achievement. I think this is a big piece of data around that. Another piece was mentioned as well too. And so as we see these signs in the district, not only anecdotally, but objectively, we can look at the continued health of our system. And so that other piece was noted as well. Meadow Ridge Elementary was nominated for a National Blue Ribbon Award. There are 13 schools in the state of Michigan that were nominated as a National Blue Ribbon Award recipient, or nominee for that matter. And Meadow Ridge was one of those schools. And what it says is that at Meadow Ridge, during the 2023-2024 school year, they were outperforming schools similar to their makeup at a level that had put them in this top tier in the state of Michigan and noting to be recognized nationally. So again, another piece of our system that is an accolade, but also data to suggest that there's health and that students are learning at high levels. I put a few bullet points here for you, more than a few, I guess, for some of the highlights from each of the years. So that we've done to consider some instructional movement. And I won't go through all of them, but the concept that I want to share with you here is that at the beginning of the year, we look at our student achievement data. And as Mindy mentioned, we have some specific types of meetings. They have different levels, district level, building level, classroom, or grade level, classroom level. And we think, what does the data say at our local level? And then we implement system strategies, like some of these that we've done in 2022, 23, 24, and then of course some districts or some building strategies as well. The data allows us to say where are points of need, and we can push specific support to that, but then also where are points of strength, where we might be able to consider backing off resources and applying them to different areas. So a few different highlights. In 22, we thought about, you know, how do we think around that GVC planning? I haven't said GVC at a board meeting yet this year, but you saw in the past couple of years me bringing curriculum adoptions to the Board of Ed meetings. And so that we could think about a guaranteed experience for students, no matter what school or teacher, if it's the same course, we wanted to have high expectations, and we wanted to think about ensuring that those kids had the same experience, regardless of school, regardless of teacher. We could consider that we can make that consistent. We also put some supports in place, like, you know, supplemental training and additional, you heard an intervention being in place today at certain spots. So, you know, where we needed some need, or where we wanted to consider ways in which we wanted to respond to student learning, we wanted to make sure that we could look at the data and easily put some strategies in place in a targeted way. In 2023, we really committed to this idea of deepening that professional learning community's work. And so we asked our community to consider adding an early release day to the calendar, and we talked about how we would unit plan in our district, so that in our district, one of our values is that we are focusing on student learning and not only focusing on teaching. So what does that mean? It means this. During our units of study, which go between our early release days in our district, we think about how we will plan to extend or intervene when kids don't learn. Every 2 weeks, we do that. And so you and I went to school, and frankly, we're in the classroom, and we were taught by the teacher, and whatever that was, maybe the teacher asked us to talk a couple times to our friends about topics, but most likely it was the teacher, speaking to us, and then we left. And sometimes we learned a lot. Sometimes we didn't learn that much, but the teacher probably still taught the same lesson the next day, no matter what. Our focus is to think about our responsive teaching techniques. So that's how that calendar works. That's how the collaboration works. If all teachers are teaching the same thing, we give a common formative assessment. The teachers stand around a table, if you will, collaborate, say we need to reteach or we need to extend, and then we tweak after those early release days. So that was a big piece of 23. We continued with some of our strategies that you can see in 24 as well. And so this includes a new middle school social studies curriculum. We talked a little bit about the instructional design in math, and so you see some pieces as well there. We have a focus this year, each year building depth within our practices, and this focus for instruction is called tiered instruction, and Tricia mentioned it a little bit as well today. So our concept that we are looking at is a responsive approach to learning. But when we teach something, if we do a really good job, science says that 80% of the kids learn it. And then we have to think about, well, even if we just nailed the lesson, 80% of the kids learn it, we have an obligation to those other 20% of the kids. So scientifically speaking, what it says is, if we move about 15% of kids into a reteaching situation or an intervention system with the teacher, then we can think about 15% or so more having learned the concept after reteaching or some extra instruction. And then that still has about 5% of kids scientifically that says they're going to need some extra help because they might be below grade level, or it's foundational skills that we really need to pull out and target. So we're building this system more and more in our district. It's very consistent, as you've seen with our literacy RTI model. It's kids in our system go through the stages, but we're building that throughout the system more and more. And again, we know that's a practice that will have big impact with all the layers that we're building in. So a few of those pieces. Onto the data. Well, let's look at the English language arts piece. We'll start with some MSTEP and PSAT 4-year data. So the colors signify different years. So blue is 2024. And you can see what we're hoping for is an absolutely consistent pattern of, incremental increase. And that can happen, that for the most part, that's the summary. But there are going to be times when we make dips and we can consider, different groups of students or break that down by building even the classroom. But you can see a very positive trend here with our ELA data. I brought some work to you in the past when it comes to adding different instructional supports and instructional curriculum around ELA. I expect this, and this year we've added CKLA, as you know, to really enhance the Tier 1 instruction. I am very proud of this number here because this is the foundation of how kids learn. If we can continue to assist kids at a high level of reading and learning to read at a high level or very effectively, this benefits them in many, obviously, aspects of life. So this is something we want to continue to improve, and I really expect as I look at our district that this is getting tight, and we'll have great improvement in this area as well too. This is the county average for reference, because you say, well, what does that mean? Why not 100% of the kids proficient? Well, the state assessments are not set up that way. You'll see some of different numbers here, and so the assessments are not meant to have every kid. You want to find your measuring stick on there, and then that allows you to have your strategic planning afterwards. But the county average is in the black down there, and you see Rockford Public Schools and the numbers-wise exceeding the county average in all grade levels for sure. That takes us then to the NWA, and the NWA is different. This is the test we administer. However, it's a nationally normed test. So what you see here is percentiles, percentile comparison. The difference is this: if there's 100 kids in a line, a percentiles, you know, at this instance, say the 95th percentile, the 95th kid towards the top, right? And so where do you fall within the peers that are taking the assessment? And so you'll see two things when it comes to NWA reading. You'll see, this is also the fall, right? So you can measure grade level to grade level and how they're moving through our system. So two things in the yellow line, again, incremental increase and then very high achievement. So when we look at peers across the nation, this suggests that Rockford students are learning at a very high level and achieving, and this is at the 80 plus, 90 and higher percentile across the nation. All right, and then if you look at the PSAT, SAT, so again, this is the suite that you're going to think about for 8th graders, 9th graders, 10th graders, and 11th graders. And so the comparison here suggests that you have the blue line being Rockford Public Schools, and then the state average being the orange bar graph. And then so if you look at that, you would suggest that Rockford Public Schools is far out competing and providing a solid experience for those students, and as evidenced in the student achievement results as well. And then sometimes you can look at it, and we look at the numbers, we say, over time, you know, depending on the assessment, how do cohorts of students move through? So if one is at a 70, are they, you know, at a 72 next year, or do grade level? So we'll look at the data in that way, but overall a positive comparison as well too for the high school level assessments. And when we look at English language arts and we think about, well, what does some of that data mean and how can we make some moves? Here are 4 different ways in which we're making some moves in response to the data. Number 1, we're considering that new curriculum for the DK through 5 in the CKLA. We're thinking about response to intervention, and so that's that tiered instructional approach. So it's not just teach, 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 see you later kids. We're going to teach tomorrow no matter what. Nope, it's responsive teaching. What did you learn and how do I need to be agile in my instruction? We think about our Tier 2 flex, RAM, and win time. So that's time that's carved out during the week in the master schedule for responding to student learning. And it's a professional development tool called Classroom Learning Labs, where Rockford teachers go in an organized fashion to go visit and watch other Rockford teachers. And they talk about their instruction, and we learn from each other. And so 4 ways in which we're taking that data and responding this upcoming year. So that brings us to mathematics. And in mathematics, we're going to look at the state assessment first. The blue line, again, suggests a higher percentage for the most part across all grade levels. We have some investigation that we're looking at with our 8th grade, but if you look at the difference between 2021 and 2024 at a 6th grade level, that trend is very positive, and particularly in the middle school as well too. So again, our overall data there with the state assessment suggests positive achievement and an increasingly effective system. Again, I add the county averages so you can have some context with the numbers as to what other schools in Kent County, which Kent County for that matter achieves very well. Okay, when you look at it across the state, Kent County is a high achieving county. So those numbers I would say are on the top tier of achievement across the state of Michigan. And you can see that our numbers exceed the county average in all areas as well. Then we look at the math NWA factor. Again, if you look at the yellow line, for the most part, our trend is above where they were in the past. With that said, there are some areas like that we might want, that we'll have some additional consideration for, and that's what the data gives us a clue to. So we look at perhaps a third grade number, and while those students are still achieving at that 70th percentile for this one dipstick, it gives us a clue to look into that and say a little bit more. Even though, as we look at the middle school numbers, 6th, 7th, and 8th, over time, those numbers have continued to climb. And so looking at even that 84th percentile. So that's also something that we can correlate with the numbers from the M-STEP as well. So you'll see there's lots of ways to consider that. The overall is very positive at achieving at a very high level. And then that takes us to the math component as well. For the 8th grade, 9th grade, and 10th and 11th grade PSAT, SAT. Again, I share this with you as a comparison to other schools and how our students are achieving. In all instances, far above the state level, and in many instances across the line, increasing as we go. In mathematics, we have a few different highlights as well. We look at the data, and while I'm giving you macro data here, for the record, we can take this all the way down to every single classroom. And that's where we can make some of these grade level and classroom specific plans. You know, we can take as much as there's big level data there, in about 10 seconds we can get it down to one kid with our systems. And which is very powerful to be able to do because, you know, when you can put a personality with those numbers, then the story comes out. And then we can make better decisions. So you see in mathematics, we have some instructional emphasis happening at the elementary, so we're thinking specifically around fluency and some core math instructional practices. At the 9th grade level, at the Freshman Center, we built in a tiered Algebra 1 support, and that includes a college board assessment, so students would be able to take an assessment similar to NWA now at the 9th grade, and it will project towards college board and give some feedback for them to intervene individually and as a group. We're looking at how we use our instructional minutes at the secondary level, and what is our way in which we can even embed intervention sometimes into those instructional minutes outside of a master schedule piece. And I mentioned it, we have a secondary math coach this year who has a real strength around understanding the concepts of the secondary math continuum of learning. And so we're pushing into situations where data suggests need or to support professional learning. And then we're thinking about flex time. So you've seen this at the elementary level where Jake and Kelly and I, we are teachers of 3rd grade. We give a common formative assessment and then the students might perform at different levels. Jake might take the group, and we agree during our early release time, Jake might take the students that need additional help. Kelly has the extending students. I have a different group of students. We all do unique mini lessons, even though I'm probably teaching some of Kelly's students. And I have some of Jake's students. We kind of think about at a grade level and as a team how we can really best serve all of those students as well. So some aspects of mathematics that we're targeting. And then finally, science and social studies. So in this instance, you can see our science is on a little bit of different graph. So you see grade 5, grade 8, grade 11. It's not tested every single year. These are state assessment tests. These are M-STEP tests. And Rockford was highlighted as a top 5 achieving district in the state of Michigan for their science scores. The yellow line on the top bar graph suggests where the county average is. And so you can see exceeding the county average, again, noted in the top 5. I think is a very cool piece for our district. And also here, for the most part, we're increasing every year, if you look at that as well too. So some telling pieces as well. And then social studies. You can see, again, for the most part, increasing annually. And county average, we are exceeding greatly. So a similar pattern to the science, and another sign that our collaboration and our instruction to student learning is increasing as well. And then finally, if you look, you can see some over time graph here of M-STEP with science and social studies both having an increasing trend. And that's what we want. You know, we're a big system, so it's not realistic to say, you have 50 kids, okay, it's a different story, right? You can move that pretty quick, right? So, but when we have large grade levels, you know, the system needs to just steadily climb over time, and that's what we see in our student achievement data. So I'm proud to be able to share that with you today, and very, you know, it's kind of, you know, to be honest with you, bit of a, probably, there's a lot of work that other people do besides me. And I get to stand up here and tell you about it, if that makes sense, okay? And that's probably not fair. But on the other hand, our district's moving in a really good direction right now. You can feel it. And so it gives me pleasure to be able to say that. And I hope you can see it as well.
Absolutely.
With that, I'll take some questions.
I was just going to comment, when I go back to the MLive article, I remember seeing there are other Kent schools in those top 10s, top 15s. And so I appreciate you pointing out the county averages. And it is a tough county, and they're good schools in this county, and we're doing well relative to our peers within the county, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. Those the PSAT, SAT scores against the state are remarkable. We are providing our kids with an amazing opportunity in Rockford. Sorry.
Well, my first question was, I know you're not the only one doing the data mining, and for fear of missing somebody, if you could just not mention names, but let them know that I appreciate the amount of work. Because the second thing I was going to say is really to the board, we've really focused inward. So for me, on the state tests, the M-STEPs, PSATs, and the SATs, as you well know, I've been tracking a certain, I won't call them out, you can check the tape in years gone by, but there's a group I've been following for 5 years because they fell off a cliff with English Language Arts, ELA. And probably remember those days. I think you were in a building, but elementary area. We've climbed, if you look at the zigzag along the path, and you can't see them where they were 5 years ago, you see where they are now. We've done an excellent job, and I would give a lot of credit to the focus inward that we've done on PLCs and the professional learning communities and peer helping peer. All of that has been positive. So the last thing I was going to say is for the board, you can't be an expert on all of this. So for me, I cherry picked a group that, the red light was and the horns and the klaxon was going off, right? It was just, wailing and gnashing of teeth. So I've been following them, and it sort of helps generally see how the district's doing. But I would charge the board with this, that we do some excellent things internally if they're given space to do it. So I spent a lot of my time in Lansing, as you know, lobbying to make sure that edicts don't come down that impact our half days of education and educating each other in our professional staff meetings. Kelly and I talked about an HR committee. A couple of years from now, there's new dyslexia law that was passed. And while it's a super important topic, we do a really good job here of identifying and intervening and applying to down to an individual supports. Obviously, it's critical in some districts. They don't have that ability. But the law is so prescriptive that it will impact not only HR with probably needing a full-time or a half person to work on this all year, but it impacts our building's ability to focus on us the way that we do stuff. So I would just say don't lose sight of that as I roll off. That's a lot of the, we do a good job. Our reps have been really good about, let local education units like us do our thing. But you still got to watch out for that and meet with some, downriver folks that have a different idea. Because that will impact Dr. Matthews and the administration down to a building level in a few years. Everybody's going to have to change the way we do dyslexia, and that's because it's very prescriptive. So I would just say that for, because this will be the last report where I'm involved with it. And it's just been super fun to see that group slowly climb their way up. And even during COVID, which if you would ask me during COVID, would that group stay flat or grow? They grew, which told me an awful lot of how we were doing PLC even during COVID. So kudos to your team and to those building folks that have worked very hard on, particularly in elementary for me, and then the secondary group that had to pick up the slack for one of those cohorts that are now in middle school. Thanks.
Other questions for Mike?
I just have one thing. I want to thank you for all of this detailed information and like your emphasis on taking the data and telling a story with it, because this is just, you know, our standardized tests are just one of the ways that we are able to measure student success, right? And, but it's not the only way. But luckily we have somebody like you who's able to take this data and figure out how we can put it to work for us so that we can, you know, build all of these different ways to intervene and catch those, that, you know, that other percentage of kids that's, you know, taking the test on the day, who's just clicking through the thing. And that's my son. And I've shared that with you, and, you know, he's one of the kids that, you know, comes home with the scores, and I'm like, well, buddy, this is not the only way we measure you. But as a whole, this data is super important, and I just, you know, want to thank you for all of the work that you put into these awesome presentations to help, you know, everyone try to understand it better.
Well, thank you. Like I said, I'm the one standing.
I just had a quick comment and a question. So piggybacking on that a little bit, I love that you mentioned taking the data down to the individual and learning that story. That's so important. My one question though was, it looked like with the county and with Rockford Public Schools, there seem to be dips at like consistent grades. Is there, and it's not just RPS, it's the county.
Right.
Are those kind of like transition years, or what's?
I don't know that there's one answer to that, but when you do look at state achievement data at the state level, you know, it feels like as you move through later grades, for whatever reason, the proficiency levels go slightly down. Okay. You know what I mean? So if you compare yourselves along that. But I don't know that there's one answer. I think that we are trying to be careful of just coming up with one answer. Like I mentioned to you, this is a dynamic industry, business, you know, profession, whatever you want to say. We're dealing with like human lives, right, that are impacted in many ways. And to you know, think about the fact that we can summarize all that with a bar graph is not the way we think about this. We only look at it to say, you know, are what we do in our resources, our targeting, are they making a meaningful difference that we can measure? But then there's more to the story, for sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
I would also ask Dr. Matthews, I think that, or jump in, I think also we've been blessed that Lansing hasn't changed the test for the standardized state test in 5 years. So it's been the same, because it was always a different contract, right? So they switched from the ACT to the SAT. So if you're looking at secondary, there's some wonkiness there because everyone's trying to get together. But I think it's been 5 years now. It's been left alone, because they were like every couple of years they were changing, which you can look at the data and you don't know really what you're looking at. So we've been fortunate in that they've left us alone, or left the administrations alone for 5 years now, which you always have to remind the new legislature, because every 2 years it's like a rinse and repeat. People are out in a whole brand new group that Dr. Matthews has to educate every single year. But it's been really good for 5 years. They've not messed with it.
All right.
Can I just add one last thing? But Jake, I remember seeing the graph with the M-STEP and PSAT scores on it, and 7th and 8th grade had an entirely different test than the other kids that were on that graph. And so you saw like 7th and 8th kind of going down. But it's like when you compare that to, you know, the kids from the younger grades who are taking a different test, I think that makes it look like it's going down.
Really, it's a completely new test.
I see. Yeah, M-STEP is 7th grade and PSAT is 8th grade, and so there's
it's change on
Cool. Yep. Great. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Ram.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Item 5 on our reports, Rams 12. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you. I'll let Stephen get the report up there. Yes, sir. So Rams 12, we wanted to come back to the board and just remind you of the work that we're doing on our Rams 12 strategic plan. The vision, what we're trying to live into, who do we see ourselves being? Community educational excellence, where students are challenged to think critically, act compassionately, and succeed boldly. And so the vision is what kind of calls us to move us forward. The mission is the statement of how we're going to accomplish our vision. A rigorous, cohesive learning environment that challenges and supports each student, equipping them for success now and in the future. If we do this well, we've identified these student outcomes: critical thinker, academically proficient, socially and emotionally aware, personally responsible, career and college ready, problem solver, and an effective communicator. And so within RAMS 12, we've identified pillars and priorities. The 5 pillars are academic excellence, wellness and preparedness, social responsibility and community engagement, collaborative culture, and organizational effectiveness. Within those 5 pillars, there's 16 priorities, and there's 58 specific action steps. We can't accomplish all of that, and especially in 1 year, probably not even in 3 years. And so the question was, where do we start with this? And so in working with our administrative group, and we kind of outlined a process here, that by October 1st, they were to send me their list of priorities, 3 to 5 priorities for this school year. By October 14th, which is today, they were to work on creating one FAST goal that addressed 2024-25 priority, identify a timeline kind of by the end of the calendar year, by the end of the school year. By November 1st, they would create their FAST goals for their 3 to 5 priorities. And then we would work to create a dashboard for the community to see what those priorities are and what the goals will be. Within academic excellence, among the administrative team, there were 6 common priorities: tiered instruction, student engagement, data response and assessment, employability skills, social and emotional wellness, and effective communication. In the wellness and preparedness, there were 4 common priorities: physical and mental health support, strong emotional skills, self-assessment and reflection, and evaluate and upgrade physical safety measures. In the collaborative culture, there were 3 common priorities: professional learning, staff wellness, and consistent communication. And then in organizational effectiveness, again, 3 common priorities: system monitoring and improvement, updated communication platforms, and modernizing infrastructure. So within the RAMS 12, we've identified a total of 16 priorities for this school year that administratively the team has identified a total of 16 common priorities for the school year. There will be some individual pillar priorities that will be pursued as well, but the focus will be on those 16 common priorities. And so the next steps, the administrative team today worked on developing those FAST goals. FAST, frequently discussed, ambitious, transparent, and so today they started continued their work on that. By November 1st, they will have created their FAST goals. We will share those with the board and then with the community as well, as what we're focused on for this year. What we've talked about administratively is this idea of there's some things that we need to get accomplished in order to get some more accomplished next year. So 24-25 will set the stage for 25-26, which will set the stage for 26-27. And so we talked today in our administrative meeting, 2 years ago, one of the first experiences I had with Mr. Ram was that we went down in August, started July 1, so went down in August with Mr. Ram and about 60 of our teachers to the Professional Learning Conference that was down at the Voss in Grand Rapids, and that work there established some of the great work that Mr. Reichenbach talked about, of our teams working together. But in order for that to be accomplished, we had to set the stage 2 years ago. And so that's what we're talking about with our administrative team. If we're to accomplish the things that we want to through the RAMS process, what are those things that we have to do first in order to do the things that we need to do second? And so We will get the board a list of these FAST goals in November and review them, and then begin to post on our district website what these are for our community to see as well. What does the year look like? I would click on this, but I'm not 100% sure that it will go to where I want it to go, but we'll see. You know, we've identified a process. Which one is it? Where's the roadmap, Mr. Rand?
Are you in the shared folder?
Yeah. At least I hope I'm in the shared folder. It's not going to be it. Yeah. Okay, that's not a problem. So we have a roadmap that I'll share with the board in the weekly that we share with you on Fridays, that kind of outlines the map, that kind of talks about each month there's certain priorities that we're working on, that we're trying to hopefully accomplish over the course of this year. So we're committed to being as transparent as we can with the board and with our community to identify how we're moving the RAMP process forward. So right now, where we're at is that we've identified common priorities. Those priorities are beginning to develop fast goals around those. We're identifying where we want to be by the end of the calendar year, which is December, and then where we want to be by the end of the school year, which is next June. So questions about the process?
16 priorities?
That's a lot of priorities.
Your sense is that that's not biting off more than we can chew at this for year one?
We have...
It feels like a lot, but
it does feel like a lot, but when you think about it, you know, we have our academic departments in the buildings, but then we also have, you know, security, we have transportation, we have food service, and combining all of those identifies 16 priorities.
That makes sense, yeah. Good.
It will be a lot of work, but we have confidence that we're going to hold ourselves accountable, and we have confidence that the board will hold us accountable as well for making forward progress on these priorities.
Can you remind me again what FAST stands for?
You'd think I'd be able to do that. It's frequently discussed, ambitious. What's S? Is it strategic? And T is transparent.
Okay.
So.
I have an article I can send you on.
So.
Good.
So we're getting away from the SMART goal kind of concept to look at the FAST goal, frequently discussed, and that's why we're bringing it back to the board. That we don't want this to be something that we did once, stick on a shelf, and then come back 2-3 years from now and say, what did we accomplish? We want this to be something that drives the work that we do every day in the district. The tension that we're trying to talk to the administrative team about is this, we have to have the lights on every day in the buildings, right? That's what we have to do every day. But more importantly, we have to know why it's important to have the lights on. And so we're trying to do both with the administrative team. And I have confidence in our administrative team that they have the capacity to do both, to see, to make sure the lights are on every day, but also to make sure that they know why we're turning the lights on every day, that we're trying to do something significant with the students and the families in our district.
So what you're saying is this is a group capable of a Tier 4 intervention?
We have confidence that we'll be able to do that. So each month we'll bring back to the board a little snippet of what we're doing around RAMS 12.
Thank you. I think this is impressive. To see us go from where we were at the beginning of this process to now and look forward to the next steps. But I have a lot of confidence in the approach and the process that you're undertaking to kind of guide the work. The session I was in this summer where this was discussed with, and I got a glimpse into what other districts are doing. Again, not a scientific study, but my gut feeling is that this is better than most out there. Yeah. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. Awesome. All right, that's it for reports. We're moving on to visitors. We'll get the timer up, and I want to take a moment to outline the guidelines for the public comment portion of our meeting. We value and welcome your input and feedback. We believe a collaborative relationship between our schools and the Rockford community is essential to achieving our shared goals. Public comment at the board meeting is intended to give the Rockford community an opportunity to address the board on issues in the Rockford Public Schools. At our meetings, the board and individual board members will not directly respond to comments or questions that arise during public comment, but may follow up through the superintendent. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes to ensure everyone has an equal chance to express their views. Please be respectful and avoid using inappropriate language or engaging in personal attacks. We want to create an environment where everyone feels comfortable expressing their opinions without fear of retribution or harassment. To ensure due process and respect for individual rights, the district maintains a formal process for handling complaints against individuals. If you have a problem involving an individual or a specific incident, we encourage you to consider addressing it through administrative channels by contacting the superintendent's office. Furthermore, we ask that speakers express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by your comments. While it is not our intent to stifle public comment, speakers should be aware that if your statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, you may be held legally responsible. If you are unsure of the legal ramifications of what you're about to say, we urge you to consult first with your legal advisor. We encourage you to provide constructive feedback and suggestions for improvement, which helps us improve our schools and better serve our students, families, and community. We thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts. We look forward to working together to ensure our schools continue to be a source of pride for our community. Lastly, please remember that public comment at our board meetings is one way we hear feedback from the community. It is certainly not the only way. Those who prefer other means to communicate often do so via email through the district website or by calling the superintendent's office. When we call your name, please step up to the podium and be mindful of the timer. Speakers are asked to address the board, not the audience or others in attendance. The audience is asked to remain quiet so speakers may be heard without interruption. Thank you. And up first tonight is Lola Davey.
Hi, so my name is Lola Davey. I'm a senior at Rockford High School. You can find me everywhere on the campus, basically. I run track and field, I'm on the drumline in the marching band, and part of many after-school clubs, including Students in Action and Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I'm here to enunciate the importance of language and culture studies for high school students. I'm currently in AP Spanish Language and Composition, and this is my 4th year studying the language. I absolutely love learning a new language and feel better that we have all kinds of teachers that can teach different languages at our school. They not only teach grammar and vocabulary and pronunciation, but they also introduce Rockford kids to a new culture. I believe that for any student, learning a new language is crucial to their education. Let's be realistic. Rockford is not one of the most diverse communities in terms of different cultures and ethnicities. So culture studies can help students break out of the Rockford bubble. Learning a language can create more opportunities for students to interact with other communities once they graduate. Even though exchange students say that we sound like AI when we speak their languages, in other parts of the world, knowing another language, it can broaden your understanding and the knowledge of Rockford students if done right. It can produce beneficial results regardless of what path students take after high school. I'd like to express my gratitude toward the board for offering so many opportunities in the World Language Department and for hiring the well-educated teachers we have so Rockford students can broaden their horizons and connect with people all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll reset the timer, and up next is Elise Davey.
Good evening. At the beginning of the year, Dr. Matthews challenged our teaching staff at our kickoff. We were presented with the 7 most important things that Rockford wants every graduate to leave with. We want them to be critical thinkers, academically proficient, socially and emotionally aware, personally responsible, career and college ready, problem solvers, and effective communicators. We were then challenged to come up with our own 7 most important things, and each staff member had the opportunity to reflect on what was most important to them. It was a really great exercise, and personally and professionally. Tonight, I'm doing a little spin-off, my 5 most grateful things, as a RPS teacher and a parent of a senior, a freshman, and a 6th grader.
Administration and board members, I know that sometimes you hear more things that are a problem or grow areas instead of glow areas. So I hope this helps encourage you tonight. The new curriculum. This year we received our new CKLA curriculum. I'm grateful to have a research-based curriculum to support the area of language arts, and so far, my kindergarten students are responding well. A variety of sports and activities. As a parent and an educator, I'm grateful for the variety of sports and activities. Between my 3 girls, we have participated in band, orchestra, choir, cross-country, track, basketball, swim, water polo, community ed soccer, art classes, and various after-school clubs. The Rams 12 strategic plan. If there's anyone that has not had a chance to examine this, I think the district and community are doing some really great things under these pillars. I would love to see some improvement, of course, but I'm grateful for the vision and mission to equip students and now and in the future. The art of teaching. Yes, we do have Common Core standards, priority standards, and curriculum maps we are required to follow, and I'm thankful. This is good practice so that students are college and career ready, and so that if a child switches schools within our district, they are learning the same essential standards. However, I'm grateful that there is still room for our own artistry and use of our gifts and talents. Number 5, mental health. Through our DHK campaign, we have been supporting students, families, and staff by covering a wide range of topics, including mental health, suicide prevention, substance abuse, and technology safety. I want every child to feel like they are seen, loved, and heard, and we are taking steps in the right direction. In closing, administrators and school board, we know that you are working long hours and taking time away from your family and of rest. In a world that feels a little chaotic and polarized, especially with an upcoming election, I just want you to know that you are appreciated, and we are so thankful for you. Tonight I have a book for you called Feeling Grateful. Each board member will get one. I have 12, including the student rep. One of my favorite quotes is, "Be the reason someone believes in the goodness of people. Every kind thing you say or do for another becomes a part of them and you." Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is Brenda Wodarski. Brenda here?
First of all, I want to thank Jared for still not knowing how we can address the board according to the Supreme Court in 1964. So I would address you to look that up over the multiple times I've brought that up to you. So thank you once again for not doing your due diligent homework on that. Ooh, geez. I also want to thank most of the board for not following your oath of office. I want to thank you for putting money over children. I want to thank you for putting sexually explicit books in the library, according to one of our members right here on the end, and a principal at Cannonsburg Public School. I want to thank you for encouraging children to lie to parents, as we've seen in some lawsuits going on with Dan Mead. Wonderful. Christian teachers, or people saying they're Christians and encouraging children to lie to their parents. For telling children that they can be the opposite sex when every single chromosome in their body is XX or XY. The drugs, the rest of their lives. For violating the MCL state school codes for sexually explicit books in the library. For the lack of education regarding masking. For allowing clot shots in our school. For turning down experts in the field of industrial hygienists, for hiring a COVID expert who knew absolutely nothing about COVID, for pretending to be patriotic and loving America, for reckless spending, such as graduation at Calvin College when we have a $10 million football stadium out there, for also turning down experts on the spike protein, for all the glyphosates and GMO in our school lunches, that's amazing too. For threatening to arrest me for not wearing an immune suppressing slavery muzzle. For the plastic partitions put up to stop an airborne virus, thank you once again. And the toxins used to wipe down the desk in between while our kids laid their bare arms and hands on those. Oh, thank you again for getting rid of our dress code. Thank you again for allowing our teachers to have a private library with no database. And thank you for pushing that 5-hour rule to suppress our First Amendment rights to speak. Thank you for the 5G tower next to the football field. Thank you for Common Core and pushing computers in their hands when studies show computers don't work both sides of their brain. Thank you for allowing biological boys into my daughter's locker room. Thank you for the multiple lawsuits and probably more with the Title IX going on, allowing biological girls in the boys' bathrooms, for letting kids lick each other and pretend to be animals. And thank you for changing the testing standards to make our grades look better.
Up next is Craig Lee.
So, how's everybody's communist overthrow going? I know it's my first communist overthrow too, but obviously it's not the first one that happens in our country. Education is a cornerstone of a good communist overthrow. You really need to kind of take control of that educational system so you can go ahead and take the individual and put them in a collective. So that's what you do in terms of your reading standards. You go away from phonics to basically whole words. You want to have these people not have the individual capabilities to read on themselves and learn. And I note to the public, and I've brought this up a number of times, that we are basically changed from this Horace Mann, John Dewey, to now this George Floyd educational system. And this happened on June 5th, 2020, where the KISA and all of the school superintendents in Kent County used this tragic killing of a felon by the name of George Floyd to somehow get privilege and responsibility to change laws in the school system. Basically having an unwavering commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, which are all nice words, but they're undefined. Basically, anything goes, and we're going to just make it up as we go. This is not authority that's been deemed into you. The board is here to take an oath of office and is sworn to uphold that oath of office. Not to go ahead and just let your superintendents go ahead and sign an unwavering commitment, which is a new oath to a criminal in a different state. Now, that's great that, DEI, it's kind of, it's been a little bit of contentious and things. But actually at my kids' school, they actually do DEI. Imagino Dei, made in the image of God. Dei is the singular of God. So when you utilize this, it's kind of a mockery of it, if you really look at it. And what kind of a religion are we kind of teaching here? This is a new religion that we are kind of abandoning, this whole Horace Mann, John Dewey, which said, keep God out. But now we're going to raise up a different God. We're going to raise up the God of transgenderism and confusion. It takes away from the learning environment of our students. And it's just a complete mockery of those people who have a deep faith. Nobody voted for this. Nobody said, let's go ahead and collude with 21 different school districts in this county, along with the Grand Rapids Diocese and the Grand Rapids Christian schools, to go ahead and implement these things. This is the problem with our education, and it's going to lead to an inevitable destruction of it. But on those ashes, we definitely will rebuild. We can rebuild with things like phonics for reading, and use common sense communist controls in our school systems, and a simple see one, do one, teach one learning method, which I utilized in my career in medicine. Hopefully you all can take a little piece of information from this. Good night.
Okay, up next is Charles Curtis.
Good evening. In spite of all the things that RPS excels at, and there's many things that they excel at, I see some storm clouds on the horizon. The last 4 or 5 years have brought a major shift in school governing and philosophy and resulting policies that are very anti-family in nature. Many parents are waking up to the fact that they are losing control of their children's education and are pulling them out in increasing numbers to protect them from an atmosphere at odds with their family values. Enrollments have been significantly down over the past 4 years to the tune of 300 to 400 students, and I see that as a report card for Rockford Public Schools. There's much more dissatisfaction than you know. I've spoken to many parents who have pulled their children out and many others with young children that are finding other options before they even enter a Rockford school. Rockford is losing students at a concerning rate, while parochial schools and charter schools have a waiting list. On top of that, homeschooling is booming. Families have choices, and they are increasingly exercising them to protect their children and give them a less indoctrinated education. This trend cannot continue, and Rockford needs to come to grips that it is the policies being embraced that are the cause, leaving parents worried and distrustful of a school system formerly revered by both its families and the community. The following are just some of these historically new policies and philosophies now being forced on students at the expense of parental controls. Voting for Title IX rewrite, which defines biological transgendering males as female with access to sports and private facilities. 2, obsession with gender and pronouns, normalizing gender confusion. 3, policies that push dangerous lifestyle choices on vulnerable children while hiding these things from parents and lying to cover it up. Engaging in lawsuits to protect the power to transition children without parental involvement and to keep obscene books available in libraries. Obsession with the unconstitutional diversity, equity, and inclusion. And also school-based health clinics pushing parents out and privatizing records for students 11 years old and up. You are fooling yourself if you believe you can force-feed these new progressive ideologies and expect families to passively allow them to influence their children. Declining enrollments are proof that they won't. Unabated and without corrective action, these newly adopted philosophies and their related policies have the potential to endanger the entire district. Thank you.
Up next is Amanda Curry.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Curry. My husband Cameron and I have had 4 kids in this district and have many things and people that we appreciate in it. As I speak, please know that I understand every board member has varying personal opinions, and I'm grateful for the time that each of you give. We've been following the RPS court cases, in particular the Meade case regarding social transitioning their daughter in middle school without parental knowledge. And not only that, but going to great lengths to hide it from her parents. I felt confident that Rockford would be extremely aware going forward that withholding information from a parent is a huge breach of trust in the staff and parent partnership. To my disappointment, I am still seeing in very recent teacher training materials that at the secondary level, quote, secondary school parents or guardians may not be involved at the request of the student. I've considered a couple options why this may still be the case. Number 1 is that the state is mandating this and we have funds tied to it, in which case I would encourage the board and leadership to push back against the state and lead the way in holding to what is right. Imagine the courage other districts would feel if a school our size says, not on our watch. I would be the first in line to start collecting signatures if that's what it took. Option 2 is that the majority of our board and leadership are actually in agreement that parents do not have a right to know about their child's decisions in such an important matter. A quick reminder that most 12-year-olds are not even sure what they want for breakfast or what to wear on any given day, not to mention that they would have no idea how to navigate the medical world or even be able to drive themselves there. Why would we think that they are capable of making a sexuality decision for themselves that has lifelong consequences? Option number 3 is that you are being told by the state that you are protecting the student from harm at home. If this is true, there are probably much deeper issues going on at home that should be addressed appropriately. If we as parents are aware you'll encourage dishonesty at this level, it begs the question, can I trust them with my child at all? And what else would they withhold from me? Why are we asking teachers and staff to lie to parents? This goes against the conscience of any moral person. We will lose moral teachers if we continue to put them in this compromising position. Even more troubling is the message being sent to young children that their own parents can't be trusted. This policy also encourages students to lie to their parents. Imagine how conflicting that must feel to a child after being taught that honesty is the best policy. Isn't honesty what we want from all of our students? Have we taken a moment to look at this at face value and say it how it really is? This approach to parent and staff relationships is going to implode our school system. I love this community as much as the next person, and I want to see it thrive. While it may be too late to rebuild that trust with some, it's not too late to consider the future of our school and change courses. Our district, our state, and our country needs leaders to hold to what is true and right. Please let us know what steps you will take to protect the rights of parents and what we can do to support you in that.
Up next is Sarah O'Neill.
Hi, I'm Sarah O'Neill, and I've written out something I was going to read to you guys because 3 minutes isn't a lot, but I'm going to go away from it, which is not my strong point, but just listening tonight, like I think you guys are doing a great job looking at data and looking at all these different ways you can improve the schools, and I know Rockford has a ton of great things going on and things that they offer, but lately I've just been really struggling with my kids' class sizes, and I just wonder if there's some like simple things that are being overlooked and all the details that are being looked at also. So I do want to read this part because I don't want to leave out some of the things I was thinking. Rockford opened a new school this year and had retirement district, but did not make new hires. People are shuffled and stretched thin. For the second year in a row, my daughter's grade has one less teacher than all the rest of the grades in her school, and as a result, larger class sizes that are less than ideal. My third grader has 30 students in her class this year, with a parapro only in there for a portion of the afternoon. I know that when I was a high school teacher at a local public school, our contract limit was 28, and that was for high school. There are 30 third graders, which is insane to me, and every educator I've talked to about it has been shocked. The research I found after a quick search is that class sizes over 24 are too big. And I can tell you from personal experience, as can anyone who's been in the classroom, that with each additional student that you add in, you can literally feel your ability to give proper attention to individual students diminish. And I'm sure that my daughter's teacher is working extremely hard, and I highly doubt that the building administration prefers it that way either. But here we are with everyone stretched thin because enrollment is declining and there's not enough money apparently to hire the appropriate staffing to serve our students well. My kindergartner has 23 students in his class, which is 6 more than my daughter had when she was in kindergarten. And it seems that there is less parapro help currently than there was when my daughter was in kindergarten also. This is letting down our students and our teachers by not giving them ideal environments to learn and teach or proper support. I would argue that the number one thing that affects students is their teachers and the student-to-teacher ratio. So I just wonder what is causing this decline in enrollment. I know that some other people have already talked about this tonight, but I hope that you guys will consider, and I don't know if it's been looked into, but I think it needs to be because it's impacting our students. I know that there's board members running together kind of in the current election, and I just feel like it's closing out people of different opinions, and just experientially people that I have talked to that have sent their kids to other places, other schools, homeschooling, because they don't feel like Rockford is a safe place for their kids. And you guys claim that you welcome everyone, but clearly there are people that do not feel welcomed. So I would just encourage the board to think about what's happening, think about how you're presenting what you're saying to people, be honest and transparent, and with Title IX and the different lawsuits, like we need to know that we can trust what you guys are doing with our kids. Thank you.
Okay. Up next is Chris Crandall.
I hope I can get through this without coughing. Good evening. Yesterday I sent a video to each of you. It's actually a sermon, but it was more of a speaker talking about his new book entitled Discerning the Devil's Playbook. It highlights 4 plays of Nazi Germany currently at play here and now in Rockford and all across America. The ultimate target being the children. He says history, not heeded, is history repeated. I've spoken in the past about my own dear friend, here's her book, who stood up against Hitler. I've also shared a book from a woman named G. Van Fleet, I talked about this last time I spoke, sounding the alarm that communism is here in America. The same turning of children against parents that happened in China under Mao when she was a child is happening here and now, and this is her warning to us. I've also shared the 45 communist goals submitted to Congress on January 10th, 1963, warning of the plan to destroy America from within. And it's chilling when you read through them. It is happening now. And I think with all these comments that have come tonight, I pray that each of you will search your hearts. And there's a lot of good things going on, and I hear a lot of attaboys, but there's some reflection that needs to happen in the mirror of what's happening. Because history not heeded is history repeated. The hour is late. What's sad is that the evil is here, and you're helping to usher it in, and you refuse to see it. In World War II and in communist China, the government and authorities, whether knowingly or unknowingly, turned children against their parents. Here in Rockford, a lawsuit has been filed because school employees are keeping secrets from parents and starting to socially transition a child. I've had 2 kindergarten teachers tell me it was their duty to affirm kids who they think may be in the wrong body. It was their duty because some kids come from unsafe homes. And there's inappropriate sexual material within the library, with staff encouraging students to check out the hot items. As you know, another lawsuit is being brought in regards to this. What will it take to wake up? Because history not heeded is history repeated. This is a spiritual battle. I am a Bible-believing Christian, and I do believe that the Bible is true. And I always sift everything biblically, constitutionally, and through history. And when I do that, I'm asking you just to heed what I'm saying and look in the mirror and reflect. I pray you wake up and change course, because God says in Luke 17:2 that it would be better for them to be thrown into the sea with a millstone around their neck than to cause one of these little ones to stumble. Thank you.
Last tonight is Dwayne Gritter.
First of all, I want to say thank you to all of the speakers we've had tonight. My biggest fear is this board will not listen to you. I've been coming here for 4 years now. I've had conversations with many of you one-on-one, many of you through emails. And all that we offered you throughout all of 20, 21, 22, 23, and now 2024, you've basically turned a blind eye to us. I don't have any confidence in anybody that's sitting here other than the real doctor, the only doctor on the board, Dr. Helms, thank you. I don't have any confidence in the rest of you at all. We've got 3 people here tonight. The 4th one is in the audience, who's running for a new school board selection. I don't know how anybody wanted to elect any one of you. We started out in 21. We had to fight to bring a flag into this room. It took us months to get this board to approve a flag. And then we had to, don't even question me, and then we had to turn around and ask you to recite the Pledge of Allegiance and put it onto the agenda. I have all the receipts for this. You guys don't listen to the community. You do everything you can to keep this community from showing up. Nobody else in the county that I am aware of, and I go to several schools, has a board meeting starting at 5:30 at night. Nobody. You are the only ones that do it at your convenience, not for the community. You don't want us here. And then you make us call and ask for permission 5 hours in advance to speak. First Amendment rights. You're bordering on those, violating those. You guys think it's okay to keep the community out. Then you want to make us wait 3 hours through all of your other stuff to have 3 minutes to speak. I'll guarantee you again, folks, they will not respond to you. It's been 4 years. We offered you experts during COVID. What did our experts tell all of you? They said masking will not work. Masking will damage the kids socially, mentally, physically. And yet you went ahead with your experts. I wrote an email to you. I explained this to you. And what was your answer? This board, every one of you got it individually. What was the answer I received from the board? We will do it the same way next time. We will answer our experts, and we won't even care about what your experts had to say. But our experts were correct. This is why I say to the public, they aren't going to listen to you. We need to change the status of this board. We have a process coming up in a few weeks. We're going to elect 2 new board members to this board. We need to change the balance here. There is no balance. It's all one-sided. Every one of you knows who I've spoken to through emails and one-on-one. We've had these conversations before. You had the chance to do things right. You even put a vaccine clinic right here on the front yard. What did we tell you about the vaccines? They were going to damage the kids. They were going to hurt people up into including death. What do the studies show now? That's exactly what we told you was going to happen, and yet you went ahead and promoted it. They won't listen to you, folks, I'll guarantee you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Okay, that concludes our public comment portion for tonight. And up next on the agenda is superintendent remarks. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Folsom. There's been some conversation this evening about loss of enrollment in our district. And it is true that enrollment is down. It is not significantly down, but is down nonetheless. We're down just over 1% between 2023 and 24. And what does that mean? It means that we have fewer kids in our community. Demographic trends provided by Kent County show that the city of Rockford grew by 8 people between 2022 and 23. Cortland Township grew by 42. Cannon Township grew by 12. Plainfield Township grew by 166. And Algoma Township grew by 15. No city or township that is part of the Rockford Public Schools between 2022 and 23 grew by over 0.5%. Between the school year 2019 and 2020 and 2023-24, Rockford did lose students. But among the Kent County ISD school districts, which there are 20, 17 lost enrollment during that period and 3 gained enrollment. Our district continues to be an attractive district for families. We have Spanish immersion program. We have STEAM at every elementary building. We have a new outdoor education curriculum. We have robust fine arts and athletic programs. The narrative that we are a district that is losing students because of who we are, I do not believe is accurate. The issue of social transition is an important issue and one that we take seriously. It's especially important for the students and families who are experiencing this. This is also an issue that impacts a very small group of families directly, and we work closely with those students and those families. Mr. Reichenbach emailed me last week reminding me of this issue and requesting that it be placed on the agenda, and I replied to Mr. Reichenbach and Mr. Folsom that I thought the conversation might be premature. I apologized for not letting the whole board know about that request. As the father of 3 sons, I understand the importance of involving parents and families in the educational process. I was one of the parents back when my sons were in school who asked our administrative team in the district that I was a member of and the board to ensure that parents were included. We work hard here in Rockford to ensure that families are included as partners in the educational process of their children. I apologize to Mr. Reichenbach for not getting this on the agenda, but as I explained in my email back to him, I felt it was premature based on the pending lawsuit. I did not communicate clearly that I felt I had that having this discussion before a decision in that lawsuit is made might not be wise, and so I apologize for that. I would also suggest that when the time is right to discuss this topic, that it might be given to the policy committee to review first, then it could be brought to the full board for a discussion. The suggestion that this is an issue that I was trying to prevent the board from having is not accurate. There's a time and a place to have this discussion. With the pending litigation, I would recommend that we wait until that case is decided. School districts represent their communities, and our community is diverse. Our community is made up of a variety of family types. We have 2-parent households, we have 1-parent households. We have families where 1 parent works. We have families where parents both work. We have families where parents work 2 jobs. We have families where parents and multiple generations live under the same roof. And our school district supports all of these families. We welcome everyone into our schools because we understand the responsibility that has been entrusted to us to support and educate everyone in our community. We do not pick and choose. We do not have a test at the door of our school buildings that prohibits students from entering our school buildings. Our schools represent the best of who we are as a community. Are there things that we could do better? Absolutely. And the administrative team and I are at events and in our community, and we welcome comments about our schools. We want to hear from everyone so that we can support the students and provide the services that support our community. And our community supports our schools. In November of 2023, over 72% of the voters approved a renewal of our recreation millage. In November of 2022, over 64% of our voters approved an extension of our operating millage. Our community supports our athletic programs and our fine arts programs. Our parents attend our parent-teacher conferences. Our job is to educate the students who attend our schools, provide programs to support our community, and partner with our community to ensure that Rockford is a desirable place to live and raise a family. I believe that we are fulfilling that mission and look forward to continuing to do so through this school year and in the years to come. And that's my report, Mr. Folsom.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews, and with that, we're adjourned.